In this episode, you're hungry hormones.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 231 of the Daily Mother Swole. The Daily Mother Swole. Yeah, episode 231. Thank you for joining me live on Facebook, watching on the YouTube, and thanks for checking out the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes. Just so you guys know, you can listen to every single episode. I just want to ensure and just reiterate that you can listen to every single episode of the Daily Swole. Yes, Steve, the bacon is sizzling, and it will be. You can listen to every single episode of the Daily Swole on SoundCloud and iTunes. So if you have not liked the podcast or followed me on SoundCloud, make sure you do so. And also, if you can, if you listen to podcasts on your iPhone, make sure that you leave me a review, positive or negative. Just leave me a honest review on iTunes. I really appreciate it. That really helps out the podcast and the broadcast. And of course, you can like and share this on Facebook. Today's episode 231 is called Our Hungry Hormones. How it works, how you can deal with it, how you can regulate your hunger in a sense, how you can understand your hunger a little bit better, what's actually going on in your body when you feel hungry, when you feel full. Let's talk a little bit about that. That way you understand where your body is coming from. You understand how to deal with hunger and how to perceive and how to understand what's going on when you feel hungry or when you feel full. So you have two different ways. This is general. You have two different ways where your body can regulate processes. You have the nervous system and you have the endocrine system. Endocrine system is hormones, which are pretty much messengers that kind of get sent. It's kind of like USPS, kind of like US mail. And you have the nervous system, which is like a text message that gets there instantaneously. So you have, obviously, you want to move your arm. You're not going to want to wait 10 minutes for your arm to move. Your nervous system sends an impulse to the motor neurons, the nerve cells in your bicep and your shoulder, and then your arm raises or does whatever the hell you want it to do. When you're hungry, your body relies on hormones. Your body relies on hormones that are released into the bloodstream. They get filtered through and passed around and get back up to the brain, and then the brain processes this information. So your brain and your body works with hunger and fullness based off of US mail. So there's a little bit of a delay. Keep that in mind when we get into talking more about these concepts, that there is a delay. Just like there is with the post office. You mail something, it'll take a couple days. Even with priority, it'll take a day or two. So the brain controls hunger, but via the hormone system, because the part of the brain, the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is just a section of the brain that regulates a lot of things in the body temperature, sexual behavior, and also hunger and thirst. It maintains that balance. Okay, like a seesaw, like the justice scale, it maintains that balance. So the hypothalamus is a regulatory control center. So when your body is hot, you'll start sweating. When your body is cold, you'll start shivering. When you're hungry, your body will tell you that it's hungry. Or when you're full, your body will tell you that it's full. When you're thirsty, this is what controls whether you feel thirsty or not, because this is what's telling you, okay, we need more water, we need more food, we need to be warmer, we need to be cooler, and so forth. So there are nerve cells inside this part of the brain, inside the hypothalamus, that will produce the sensation of hunger. So pretty much these hormones that your body is receiving from different areas, from your gut, from your pancreas, from your intestines, your brain is getting these hormones, and then it's either it's exciting these nerves and saying, oh, eat food, or it's shutting them down, being like, all right, we got enough. For example, you have insulin. Insulin's released when there's sugar absorbed into the intestines, into the bloodstream. Your body says, ooh, there's sugar here. We've eaten food. So the pancreas releases insulin, which is a hormone, which will carry glucose, essentially like a taxi, to the muscle, to the liver, where it needs to go. And when insulin enters the brain, the body will be like, okay, there's enough food. It starts triggering that response because when there's insulin present, your body knows that there is food present, and your body is processing food and bringing food around. So your body says, okay, that's enough. We have enough. Slow that shit down. You have some powerful hormones here, and they've done a lot of testing on mice, and they've done a lot of testing on rodents and things like that in the labs. And there's one cholecystoskinin, if I said that correctly, cholecystokinin is really abbreviated CCK. Okay, I always get tongue-tied on that one. I'm sure a lot of other people would too. It's a long word, but it's a hormone that's made in the gut and gives you a feeling of fullness. Now, they've used this hormone on mice, and they've actually, while a mouse is eating, they've injected it into the brain, and the mouse will stop eating like instantaneously. So these hormones tell you, really will tell the body, it'll flip a light switch on or off. And the problem with these hormones is whether or not, first off, that you're listening to them, but that you're not preempting these hormones when they're coming around, when they're in the bloodstream. So we got a few people in here. I want everyone right now to share this broadcast because there should be a lot more people that are listening to this. I know it's a Friday, and there have been a lot of people in these broadcasts before, so take the time right now to click the share button because right now I'm going to tell you how to control your hunger better and how to eat. And I'm going to say a couple things first, but make sure you share so people can get in here and they can hear this because this is what the topic is all about coming up in the next 30 seconds. You can regulate hunger in a couple ways. We talked about decreasing your plate size, decreasing the amount of food you're eating at one time, like how much, how many servings or how much you're putting on your plate. We talked about eating slowly, drinking a big glass of water with lemon in before you eat. When you are eating food anytime, the way that you can control and you can regulate your hunger better and get ahead of your hormones, get ahead of your body, is to stop eating. Some people just started crying. Stop eating when you're about 75 to 80% full. You need to stop ahead of time, and here's why. Remember what I said about the post office. Your body sends messages about hunger and thirst and everything via the post office. Your body sends information about being hungry via the post office. When you are doing communication via the post office, you have to be patient and you have to give it a little lead time, right? So if you want someone to do something, if you want to say, okay, I want to tell Johnny that he's a dick, you can't tell him that he's a dick right now. You got to send a message and wait 2 days for him to know that, for him to know that you think he's a dick, right? So the same thing goes with your body. If your body is saying, I need to tell Dash that he's full, your hormones will start being released in the gut. There's ones in the upper bowel, in the colon, there's ones in the pancreas. Your body starts releasing hormones that will get into the bloodstream and have to get pumped around. It's not like they get into the bloodstream and then go right to the brain. They still have to go through the whole system of getting pushed around with the blood cells and everything else. So they get into the bloodstream, they get pushed down to the toes, they get pushed back up by the veins. Like, it takes time for it to get around. There's no direct pathway where the blood just magically goes up. It's not a nerve. So the body has to push this hormone around. And then by the time it gets up to the brain, then the brain has to process it and then start to slow down. Oh, I'm not hungry anymore. By the time it gets to that point, you've already eaten a few hundred more calories. You've been eating it's about 10 to 20 minutes. So think about how much damage you could do in 10 to 20 minutes. You've ordered that second slice of pizza or the third slice of pizza. You've gone back to the buffet another time. You've been eating that entire time. You've been drinking that entire time. So you've been consistently eating while those hormones that said, hey, we're full, have been in the process of getting back up there. So that delay causes a lot of overeating because you've continuously kept eating because you didn't feel full yet, because the body has not been able to send the message and get that information to you. It's like the American Revolution or the Civil War when they send a letter and the general has already attacked because the message didn't get there in time. They had to send it on a horseback and the general was going to attack, and then all of a sudden they attacked because the message wasn't sent out. He didn't know that the troops were over here, and then they got wiped out. There's a lot of stuff in history like that because communications weren't that instant. You couldn't tell people abort right there and they stopped and they got the message. So when you are eating, stop eating when you're still a little bit hungry. It might sound weird, it might be hard, but if you're still a little bit I'm still a little hungry, just stop. And then in 10 or 15 minutes, if you're still hungry, you can have a little bit more food. But it'll give you a more accurate representation of how hungry you actually are. You won't overeat. So it's not like, oh, you can't eat more food, stop. Trust me, in about 10, 15 minutes, you're not going to feel hungry. You ever do that? You stop eating or you start to make more food or you start to order something else, or you do order something else, and then by the time it comes, you're like, oh, I'm full, I don't want anymore. Or you eat, and like 10, 15 minutes after you're done with the meal, you start feeling more and more full, more and more disgusting. It's because you overate, and that information is still filtering back to the brain, and you're behind. And you actually ate too much, but you didn't know that at the time, and then you start feeling full longer after your meal. It's like, man, why do I feel full 20 minutes after I stuff my face? Because the hormones, you were full 40 minutes ago, but your body didn't get that information around yet. Okay? So understand that, start limiting how much you eat, and stop. Yeah, you get interrupted or something happens, then you're eating food, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make some food, and I gotta go do this first, and then you forget being hungry. You're like, oh, I don't feel like eating anymore. I'm just not in the mood. Like, I'll do it later. No, you're actually full. You're actually full. So make sure you use those different strategies. You drink a big glass of water before you eat. You stop eating when you're about 75, 80% full. Let your hormones get around. Let your body regulate itself. Let your body give your brain the information that it needs. And slow down your eating. That's why eating slower and smaller portions and dragging it out a little bit gives you more control over how hungry you actually are. It's always good to stop a little early because you could always go back and eat more. Thank you for joining me for episode 231 of The Daily Mother Swole. Make sure you share this, get this one around. This is one of the most informational ones we've ever done. They're all informational, but this is really, really, really good information because most of you need to lose weight. Most of you need to regulate and get your eating in order, and this is how you're going to do it. So make sure you share this broadcast. Thanks for joining me on Facebook every day live at 12 noon Eastern Time. Thanks for watching on YouTube and listening on SoundCloud and iTunes for the podcast. I'll see everyone tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time. Have a happy and safe holiday. Enjoy your weekend, but make sure you still get your stuff done and pay attention. Pay attention to this episode. Watch it again if you have to and show it to whoever needs to see it because you're going to be around a lot of junk food and you don't want to fall too far off the wagon. Make sure everyone in my premium group stays on track. I will see everyone tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time. Peace the hell